Now, we no longer have to fear the traitors, led by X, who conspired with the rebellion army for Superforce metal. My followers, peace has prevailed. Peace for all Reploids like us.
What the heck? What's going on?
All I know for sure is that Colonel Redips has betrayed us.
Redips is obviously planning to do something with the Superforce metal. And it's not like we can actually walk up and ask him what he's up to or anything.
Well, we've got to do something.
Welcome back to Mega Man X Command Mission. Last time, we defeated Epsilon, but we were backstabbed by Redips. And so now we're getting a few more lines from everybody, but not voiced. I had the realization, I don't think we've heard Marino speak since her introduction chapter. I don't think she's had an actual spoken line since chapter 4. But we won't worry about that now. No, we have to worry about the fact that we've been branded as Mavericks, and now we have to storm our own damn HQ. If we truly want to resolve the Superforce metal situation, we've got to take on the final chapter of the game. In the name of justice. It's in all caps, so you really have to emphasize it. Alright, so, if you didn't do your shopping last time, which I didn't, don't worry, there is an opportunity to do so, but you do have to go through the door here, and it will lock after you go through it. This guy's our general salesman, so he's got our miscellaneous products. So yeah, apologies for not mentioning that we've passed a slight point of no return. Eventually we will be able to go back, but yeah, once you go to the roof, you are stuck in the final chapter until you beat the game. So, if you pass that point, sorry. Again, sorry about the lack of warning. I didn't really want to signal that that was gonna happen. Though in fairness, there definitely are some loose ends in the game, so the player probably suspects that defeating Epsilon isn't the very end, but, you know, in fairness, I feel like this is a actually pretty solid betrayal overall. Good kind of shift in the plot. I mean, for one, it's not like it was secretly Sigma all along. See, I didn't lie to you when I said that Sigma wasn't going to be here, because he's not. You might think he's gonna appear in like the last 10 seconds? No, he isn't. Right, so yeah, once you pass this door, you are locked in. Not that it matters too much, we'll see a save point soon enough. But we will see these three. These are the three shopkeepers from the beginning of the game, and also in Legrano Ruins. Unfortunately though, they do not have their Legrano Ruins selection, which is really a shame because it would be great to get that stuff if you hadn't already. But I have everything I need from that particular store, so it's not a huge deal. I have everything I need, but in case you need some more good weapons, they do have a pretty solid selection. Again, if you went to the shop beforehand though, you should be fine. It's entirely possible to buy this stuff before you go to the roof. And then yeah, here's some force metal. And they're really asking you, hey, do you want to shop here? Like, you don't have any other use for money in the game after this, so like, you might as well just buy stuff here, and they're correct. Though technically speaking, again, once we beat the game, we will have an opportunity to go back, you know, leave the Far East HQ and actually return to the, Resistance HQ. And of course, we will still be earning money from the enemies and bosses in this particular dungeon, so it's not a huge deal if you spend through most of your money. Alright, so let's see, are we- yep, we're immediately here! Guess who it is? It's good old Wild Django! He doesn't have any actual lines, other than his intro line, which... go ahead.
You have a death wish?
Not really. Okay, so, of course, while we did fight Wild Django as, you know, the second real boss of the game, he has been upgraded a bit from that point. He'd kinda have to be, otherwise we would kill him in seconds. Let's see, he has got 64,500 HP, of course, absorbs thunder, weak to fire. He does electric damage to a single target. He's got Ultra Giga Thunder, Rolling Assault, which is just the single target damage that is between 100 and 200%. Lightning Rod, which is absorbing a character's speed when he hits them. So, you know, you get slower, he gets faster. Shock Nail, which, as we've seen, is single target virus. Ultra Thunder, and Codebreaker, which is, of course, DOA. And Hell Gravity, which is just cuts everybody's HP by 50%. So yeah, he's a little bit tougher, but honestly, at this point in the game, you can take him. The nastiest thing he's going to do is probably gonna be Codebreaker, though. In fairness, Axel is almost dead. He's done a pretty good job of beating him up, but I'm not that threatened. Plus, I've got ultimate armor. Like, look, I'm gonna be honest, when you get ultimate armor, you don't really need to care that much. It's pretty broken. Like, you just get all the power of a final strike in an action trigger. It's kinda ridiculous, but hey, it's a secret item. I had better be getting my defeated Reflexian's worth out of this. That syntax is terrible, but whatever, doesn't matter. Anyway, you might also notice that I am using hyper modes, without any issue, so, I'm sure you can guess that we will run into heal points in this dungeon. Which is good to keep in mind, we are going to have... Hey, you didn't absorb anything. I guess technically speaking, it's more of a, it removes 10% and gives him 10%. Since he didn't do any damage or get any speed from Axel. It's not technically an absorb attack, it just kinda works like one, mostly. But, yeah, oh god, what was I saying before? Oh yeah, we've got heal points, so don't feel bad about using any hyper mode against this guy. Plus, if you're like me, you probably have some hyper recoveries in your pocket. I never use them, and that's kind of been screwing me over in a way, because I just can't pick up any new ones. I get why they limit you to 9 of each item, and like, it's interesting that they do want to limit you like that. It kind of gets you using things like that more, so you don't waste the ones you do get, but at the same time, 9 is such a small number, and like, I don't know, if I want to save my hyper recoveries, I should be allowed to. I think I should be able to build those up, if I'm smart about not using them. Though at this point I probably could have used Iron Maiden on Cinnamon. Wouldn't be a problem with that, and that actually did some pretty good damage even against Cinnamon, so you know what? I did mock him, and for good reason. I really don't think he's that difficult, but he definitely does do some damage. You don't really want to take him too lightly. You can't really get through this by mashing through the basic attacks, but to be fair, that's most of the game. Most of the game you really are not allowed to do that. Even at the point I'm at, where I'm just kind of ludicrous. Everything is so broken. Like, everything I do is just kind of over the top, but I don't think I could survive just mashing through basic attacks. It's not that kind of game. Barely did get 9. Oh well, the good news is you really don't need 9. Like, look at that. Look at how much HP I got. Alright, well, this'll be the end of you, so, get exploded, idiot. So anyway, all that is to say, if you weren't expecting a Mega Man boss rush in the Mega Man RPG, you truly were foolish. Cause here's Wild Django. He's dead now, but he was back again. We did get a build power from that, which is pretty handy. And now here's the only other cutscene we're going to see in this episode.
What is this?
Intruders have breached the building.
Remnants of the rebellion army? No matter. Surely just some mavericks. Do not hesitate to destroy them. Soon, very soon, my power will be infinite. Then no one can stop me.
It's Django! It's gotta be him!
Someone used a chameleon ability like mine and copied Django's abilities.
But why an army cadre imposter here?
So what we know is that somebody with a copy ability was in Giga City.
Something fishy's going on here. This could be bigger than we thought. Let's start by capturing Redips. Whatever it is, we have to stop him.
So yes, earlier in the game, Axel mentioned that he was in Giga City because he was investigating, the whole copy Reploid thing. Oh, we've got some new enemies. Okay, so that guy on the left, you probably recognize that fucker from the Eternal Forest. That was the last enemy before, the boss of that area. So, I had to censor their names in that episode, because they are called the Redips Guard. And since they can revive each other and whatnot, that means their names did appear on screen, even if I didn't pause the game. So yeah, if you're too good at the Eternal Forest like I am, you can accidentally spoil yourself. Cause, you know, why else would Redips need a guard unless he was some kind of boss character?
Here goes!
What kind of noise was that? Did you just, like, hold up a puppy in front of her? Well, whatever. Anyway. Right, so... like I was saying, Axel knew that somebody with his abilities was in Giga City. Something about, the copy Reploids, originated in the city. And now we're getting a little more on that, finally. It took most of the game, but that's paying off. So, right. We've got a boss rush, so a lot of this is going to be talking over bosses that we've already fought. I'll give their upgraded stats, but other than that, I've got a little bit of time to talk about things that I've wanted to talk about for so goddamn long. Yeah, let's not go that way just yet, because of course these are boss teleporters, and I'm running a little low on HP. But anyway, yeah, this is an episode where I'm actually going to be discussing something that is technically a spoiler. The thing is, though, I'm not going to have enough time to talk about it when we actually get to it. By the time this particular thing comes up, I will be talking about, you know, very, very end of the game things. We're going to be talking about final boss stuff, so, like, I have to bring this up before it is specifically mentioned. However, I think the command mission drops enough hints that it really shouldn't be a thing that you don't know about. You, the player, can probably put two and two together. So, unless you're the kind of person who absolutely does not want to hear anything about a storyline until it's been specifically dropped in text, I trust you are probably fine with me dropping that. And if you're not, you can watch the non-com version. It's just all of this, but without me talking about it, which perhaps has some appeal to you, even if you don't care about the spoiler thing. Anyway. So, how do we broach this subject? Well, I guess I can drop the most important thing about the identity of this particular character, so, I'll give you an extra 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1... Right, so, the biggest hint towards the huge plot twist of the game, I think, is the fact that the name Redips is just Spider backwards. I feel like they were banking on Redips not really appearing enough for you to consciously be thinking about his name that frequently. But yeah, no, that it's just Spider backwards. If I remember correctly, the Mega Man Wiki kind of posits that, like, there's a typo in the manual. They misspell Redips's name, and they think that maybe they misspelled Redips's name on purpose to kind of try and throw off the players who are reading the manual. Just, you know, by spelling it slightly differently, but I don't know. I feel like if I were reading the manual but I didn't know the plot yet, I would see that and think, huh, that's weird. Why did they spell the name differently here than the— oh, it's Spider backwards in-game, huh, that's weird. That seems oddly specific, considering Redips isn't really an actual name. So yes, Redips's identity is Spider, or vice versa. So, the thing I like about this game is it actually tackles things unsaid pretty well. Which is good, because it doesn't really say that much as a game in the first place, but, like, I already mentioned, Marno hasn't had any spoken lines since Chapter 4. So, like, I don't know, it doesn't really treat its characters the best. It could absolutely give them more. Actually, wait. No, that wasn't Chapter 4, that was Chapter 3! Because Silverhorn's Chapter 2, that was Paper Hero. Wait, no, I was right. It's not Prologue, it is Chapter 1. See, I always— because of every other RPG, I always think Chapter 1 is called Prologue, but no, that's Chapter 1, Chapter 2 is Wild Django, Chapter 3 is Paper Hero, and then yeah, Chapter 4 is Go Deal Laboratory. Sorry I spoke over you, but it's not that important, we've heard you speak before. Right, so, Silverhorn. Of course, he absorbs water damage, weak to thunder damage. He's got 73,500 HP. His main attack is just single target water. He's got Cryogenics, which can cause freeze, Ultra Giga Blizzard, Tidal Wave, which is very inaccurate, but if it does hit you, it cuts your HP by 50%. Liquid Coating, which boosts his water attribute, as if you were going to be doing anything with that anyway. Increases his attack and defense. And also he gets a barrier against either combat or shot. And then Pressure Abyss, which is just heavy shot damage to one person. I think that's a crit attack as well. So yeah, the thing I like about this game's plot twist is that they actually leave it relatively ambiguous. I can't really tell you for certain if Spider is the original or Redips is the original. I don't think it much matters, though. So, alright, where do I want to go with this? Well, I guess I will get one thing out of the way. I did want to bring the interview back up, the one from the Writer's Bible. So first off, I want to mention something that isn't really going to be too relevant for most of this episode's discussion, but they do talk about the Super Force Medal, and they do drop something that I think is interesting. Takanaka says, "I think I might need to explain this. Epsilon didn't go out of control. He had an objective, becoming a rebel and leading a rebellion, but I can't say the same about the last boss. He did go out of control because of the Super Force Medal." And then Ikehara follows up with, "It's not like the Super Force medals are inherently bad. Seeking power, or even seeking better abilities, is not something evil either. But when Reploids, or even humans, become obsessed with seeking those things, that's when things go wrong." Of course, it's been a story 1,000 times. You're familiar with that sort of thing. I don't really have much to add to that other than, I'm glad that they actually treat Epsilon pretty well. Like, it's clear that the authors, you know, knew that we had to take down Epsilon, but the Maverick Hunters were also used big time as well, like, damn. Obviously, Epsilon wouldn't have been great if you were the type of person who didn't want a Reploid-only, not colony, nation-state, god. Future me, you bring up the word, I can't remember it right now. But yeah, no, like, it's not in human interest to let Epsilon succeed, just like it wasn't in human interest to let General do what he wanted to, which was developing a separate nation for Reploids. And again, I respect Epsilon because he is General without all of that hesitation, and I think that's pretty rad. You know, Reploids have really gotten the short end of the stick. I can absolutely understand why they might want to stand up to themselves, but yeah. I don't really have too much to include for that one. I just felt like mentioning it because I think it's a good quote, and I wanted it in here. I just don't think I'm really gonna have much of an opportunity to talk about it other than here. But anyway, the interview also asks, if we talk about characters with a lot of mysteries, Spider is the first one that comes to mind. What kind of relationship does he have with Ale? I'm glad they specified that, because, you know, in general just saying like, what the fuck is up with Spider? Good question. But that addition is pretty good too. So Ikuhara responds, well, there's of course what the game tells us, but we decided on being purposely ambiguous on the details. So there was enough margin for the player to think about it. And believe me, I absolutely have, and again, this game doesn't say much, but the unsaid actually kinda whips ass. I've been so excited to talk about this for the entire goddamn game. We're about to hit the boss, so I'm just going to shut up about that for a sec. Next off is, good old Mad Nautilus. Oh good, we don't have to fight regular Mad Psyche. Or Dr. Psyche, rather. I'm so glad, because that battle's just kind of annoying.
You'll never beat my evolved form!
That's right. I've evolved past the Red Cross. They weren't quite homophobic enough for me. I was kind of waiting on them to, like, reverse some decisions they'd made, but you know what? I just decided to go over to the Salvation Army instead. They're still very homophobic. Damn Red Cross actually accepting blood from gay people. I still don't... I keep forgetting why I keep making Dr. Psyche homophobic. It was just one line, and now that's just part of his character for me. Anyway, though, right, so... Mad Nautilus. Of course, no strengths or weaknesses in terms of elements. 38,500 energy. Single target, regular attack. Penetration, which is a single target, ignore shield. Mad Cocktail is random status effects. Death Gravity is cutting by 25% of your HP. Energy Capture, which is absorbing 10%, and I do actually mean absorbing this time. And Mad Ecstasy, which is just that 6-hit attack that kind of screws you over if it's against a single person. The more he spreads it out, the better, because you can really deal with party-wide attacks in this game. This ain't Dragon Quest IV, or at least what I've seen of Dragon Quest IV. Alright, anyway, now I'm done talking about Mad Nautilus, so back to the quote. So, even amongst us developers, there have been a lot of things that have crossed our mind regarding Spider. One of them is that he didn't know Ale at all, and he just made up everything to take advantage of X's weak spot for friendship, so he reacted to Ale's ID. He got close to X and company by faking a strong sense of friendship. Another one is that he and Ale got to know each other when searching around Gigantus. This is a relatively more orthodox way of thinking. Then there's another one that says that Ale was a form Spider had taken. Since he had the ability to transform into anything, he was deceiving X and the others from the very beginning. And then the follow-up question to that was, wow, those are some deep theories, but which one's the real one? And of course Ikuhara says, we leave that to your imagination. And thank God, I will always respect things that are ambiguous when it just works better for them to be ambiguous. You don't need to explain everything, and I think that makes the story so much more interesting than it could be if there was just one definite answer. Like, Spider and Redips are my favorite aspect of this whole story. Genuinely. Ah, goddammit, Zero. Goddammit, Zero, we could've had this one. But yeah, no, so, yeah, and honestly that quote kinda just lays the whole thing out, like, it does refer to Spider as kinda being the, like, real form. I don't think it much matters. I think that's mostly just for, ease of talking about that sort of thing. But really, it could be Redips, it could be Spider. So we did get several hints about that as well. Of course, recently Marino mentioned that Spider was looking into the chameleon ability. She assumed he'd never actually found such a thing, but honestly, it's just as likely that he perhaps was just a copy Reploid from the very beginning. There was also a few other things. You'll note that Spider was never in the room when we had a transmission with Redips. There was also the cutscene after we had met Axel and seen him transform, where we saw somebody off-screen transform, and then Spider walked out, just as soon as we were done with a conversation with Redips. So yeah, that whole thing was a lie. Spider was just pretending to be Redips, or Redips was just pretending to be our friend. Either which way doesn't matter what the true identity is. He lied to us all along. It's just the question of, how long did this whole thing go on? Now, I think, honestly, since it is so ambiguous, it really comes down to, what in your eyes would make Redips evil? Like, is he evil for stolen valor? Or is he evil because he just made up everything whole cloth? Like, this even introduces an idea that I actually didn't have until I had read the interview, that, like, even Ale might have just been a fake identity. Because whatever happened in that tower, supposedly, 2 people died blocking Prions from reaching X so he could escape. But yeah, the idea that Ale could also just be a fake identity never really crossed my mind. But yeah, I will admit that is pretty cool. I think I prefer the idea that Ale was real, just because it's funnier. Like, X did get attached to Ale really quickly no matter what, but it is funny if it's just a guy who had 5 seconds of screen time and then died. But again, it really is up to you. Now, I do think that Spider had to be a real person at some point. In part because nothing has ever led the viewer to believe that, like, Axel's chameleon ability, and, you know, any Reploids that share that ability, can, like, create new identities.
All for the ideal.
Not anymore, it's not. But yeah, no, like, nobody's ever transformed into anybody who doesn't exist. And I don't think it's impossible, but I do like to think that there was a bounty hunter named Spider. And I think it also makes sense because while Django did recognize Spider as a bounty hunter, and I don't think he would have done that so readily if there was never a Spider. I guess it could be that, like, Redips, when he didn't have a military position, took the identity of Spider, you know, just to do something, gain power or whatever. Also, Mach Gentra absorbs fire, weak to water, 53,500 HP, 250 power, 75 armor, 95 shield, 105 speed. I'm pretty sure I've been forgetting to mention those. Gentle Call, which is his summon. He always has to have 2 Prions by his side. He only has a single target attack, you know, just for his basic attack, no element to it. Smash, which is heavy damage. Giga Fire, Super Hold Gum, which is lowers party speed. Leak Weapon Energy, which is decrease the party's weapon energy by 50%. Flames of Gahana, which is heavy fire to everybody. And Coercion, which is a defense-ignoring attack that actually can cancel your turn, so that's actually pretty dangerous. But anyway, yeah, the way I like to see it is that there was a spider, and also, he was in the tower that day, and he did legitimately work with Ale at one point, and both were killed when trying to defend X. And then when Spider was dead, that's when Redips arrived and saw an opportunity, took Spider's form, and then played the role of guy who survived and could help X out. But it could just be that, like, once X called Redips, he just arrived in the Resistance HQ and set everything up. He could have already been in the HQ as well. Who knows how much he did, or where he was.
Maverick Hunters. Too powerful.
But I did also say that I think this plot twist actually really works, and that is always a risk you have when you have kind of the traitor character. So, like, the first example I can think of is actually from something I haven't really seen. Like, I only know Frozen from Kingdom Hearts, and I don't think the, like, actual villain was in that one, but from what I understand, nobody really likes the villain in that one, because it's kind of just unnecessary, and it just makes one character kind of a dick once you know, oh, actually, he's gonna traitor you. But I think it works for this game, because, you know, Spider's an alright character. I liked him when we thought he was an ally, but I don't think anybody much cares about Redips as a character. Until he's a villain, he is kind of just the guy in charge, but he's not Cygnus, so I can't even say I like him for familiarity. And Centis, 52,600 HP. His weakness and strength varies on depending on what form he's taken. 228 power, 115 armor, 105 shield, 100 speed. A Sura Knuckle, which is two attacks against the entire party. Ultra Fire, Ultra Blizzard, Ultra Thunder, Scorching Blaze, Eternal Glacier, Judgment Thunder, Hyper, which is when he starts using Ultra Giga Fire, Ultra Giga Blizzard, Ultra Giga Thunder, and also he's got Terra Fire, Terra Blizzard, and Terra Thunder this time, which I don't think he had last time. That's just extremely potent damage against one character. But yeah, I feel like, you know, it definitely changes what you feel about Spider throughout the game when you do know that he's gonna traitor you. But like, okay. I think the big problem with the, oh, this character was actually the villain all along is, oftentimes it is treated as it's just a thing for shock value, but it doesn't really make much sense, and the character's motivations kind of suck ass. But I actually think it makes complete sense here. So, you have Redips. I think Redips believes he could kick Epsilon's ass even if he had the Super Force medal, but he absolutely couldn't. So he has to be in a position of power, first off, because clearly he's drawn to such a thing, but also so he can send people after Epsilon. So, when the time comes that Epsilon is deemed dangerous enough, he sends the best Maverick Hunters they have to offer. X, Zero, and also Shadow instead of Axel for some reason. Don't really understand that, but maybe that wasn't his idea. Maybe Axel was already on vacation, so he just had to go with the next best guy, who turned out, turned coat to Epsilon's side. Either way, though, he sends X and party in, and they fail. X and Zero are unable to defeat Epsilon, and again, Shadow betrays the group. So, now he is left without any way to defeat Epsilon and take the Super Force medal. Of course, he introduced the idea that he could just bomb Giga City, and in all intents and purposes, he probably could, and that might have killed Epsilon. I don't think that was necessarily a guarantee, though, and that absolutely would have sparked something. Epsilon would have been on the warpath, and again, I think at his base, Redips kinda sucks. There's no way he could take Epsilon on. But regardless, X fails, and he's kind of in a bad mood, and he's in unfamiliar territory. So what does he do? Through some means, he's able to introduce a person who is on X's side, despite being against him initially. You know, he kind of gets on X's good side by having this face turn at Spider. So now X is no longer, like, single-minded in defeating Epsilon and untrusting of the Resistance. He's seen that the Resistance has something to offer, they're gonna fight against the Rebellion, they can be trusted, and now Spider has a way to keep an eye on X for some time. Now, he sticks around X for a while, and I believe it's pretty much until they meet up with Zero, mainly. Obviously, Axel joins, and that's all the better in the long run, but I think Zero was kind of the main target of Spider. I think he mainly wanted to get Zero back with X. But of course, the chapter you get Zero initially is the chapter before Zero leaves because he doesn't trust the Resistance, so Spider can't necessarily disappear right then and there and return to just being Redips. He has to get Zero on the Resistance's side. A, because X is stronger for having Zero with him, but also, as we now know, eventually he's going to backstab the Maverick Hunters, and wouldn't it be the worst idea to do that when Zero is off elsewhere? If you kill X off screen, Zero would be pissed, and then he would be an obstacle for Redips in the future. So obviously, he needed Zero there, again, to maybe backstab him, and to also keep Zero with the Resistance so that they could defeat the Rebellion. You know, just stack the deck to make sure that Epsilon goes down. And are we at the boss yet? Not yet. So yeah, at that point, he's able to conveniently get himself an injury that gets Zero to trust him. You know, he takes an injurious blow that would have maybe taken Zero out of the rest of the fight. But not only that, by the very end, he's able to slip away. Oh god, these fuckers. These fuckers have barriers and they are the worst to deal with. I hate these guys. They're not difficult, they just take ages to fight. Like, I don't even really like running away in this game, but I had to for some of the later versions of this guy, because I just could not fight him anymore. I was so tired of fighting him. But anyway, yeah, Spider had a convenient way to slip out of the action, while also guaranteeing that Zero, as well as the rest of the people that had joined X, would trust the Resistance to the very end. Die for a purpose, escape, and make sure X and the rest do actually defeat Epsilon. And then, of course, since he's able to work from the shadows, he was the one who killed Botos and then stole the Super Force Medal from the Warhead. So that was the point where he'd basically just gotten everything he wanted, but, you know, we weren't too far off of defeating Epsilon, and, again, I'm gonna level with you. I think after having stolen that Super Force Medal, I don't think Redips would have had a chance against Epsilon. Again, I'm of the belief that Redips says he could defeat Epsilon, but absolutely could not. I guess I can bring it back to the thing I said earlier. Redips didn't go mad from the Super Force Medal. He was in control of himself the entire time. I think Epsilon has enough control that he absolutely, through almost any given means, could have kicked Redips' ass. But that also meant that he didn't necessarily need to waste the bombs on destroying the entirety of Giga City. All he needed to do at that point was just get everybody to the roof and kill them. Now granted, he did just let everybody slip through his fingers for some reason. I don't know how we escaped to the East Base HQ, but whatever, I guess it wasn't that important. All we needed to know is that we escaped. But yeah, I think it makes sense that Redips has good enough motivations to be that, you know, traitorous character. I think his plan makes a lot of sense, and you know what? I'll also mention, I think he makes a great foil to X, because nobody in the X series has ever really taken advantage of X's naivete. Like, Sigma hated X's naivete, sure, but like, he never tried to fool X the way Redips does. I mean, like, maybe Lumine could kind of count, but I'm gonna level with you, Lumine didn't really matter. Like, we didn't really do anything in particular because Lumine got captured. We were going to fight those Mavericks anyway. The fact that Lumine was supposedly a captive was never really a problem. And it's really not something you think about until, you know, you're playing normal or hard mode and you get to the end and it's like, by the way, as the villain, it's like, oh yeah, oh, hi, hello.
Oh yes, I see. I suppose traitors always travel in packs. Don't you remember me, X? 'Tis I, Depth Dragoon. We used to work together, but I'm loyal to Redips. So I'm gonna kick your ass. Oh, how dare you call me a small fry? After everything we've been through, those you Class S hunters have always fascinated me. Now let's see if you live up to your name.
I'll take you on.
Oh, that's his voice? Okay. So anyway, Depth Dragoon. Absorbs Thunder, weak to fire. 185 power, 152 armor, 162 shield, 110 speed. He's got Thunderclap, which is single target thunder that can cancel their turn. Ignores defense. Yeah, it's that one again. Electromagnetic Field, which inflicts blind to everybody. Hell Gravity, cuts your HP by half. He's got Boost Power, Shield, Armor, and Speed, which is all of those stats by 25%. He's got Ultra Giga Thunder, he sounds like a nerd. Terra Thunder, Destructive Blow, which is just huge damage to everybody. And Thunder Brigade, which is just thunder damage to the entire party, and it's 3 hits, you know, for each character.
Here you go!
Ugh. So yeah, Depth Dragoon isn't that difficult. However, you're definitely going to want to steal from him, because he has the Beast Lancer, which is one of Massimo's best weapons. It does have a bit of a drawback. It will hit you if you try to use it. There is some recoil damage. However, somebody pointed out... Oh, also, yeah, I figured this out, but somebody pointed out that that doesn't actually apply to his action trigger, so it's actually just incredible damage. Anyway, guess what? I finally put the time in to learn how to steal things properly. So yeah, boot, chest, chest. So yeah, since it's a guaranteed steal, I didn't want to deal with the 3% steal rate of the Beast Lance, because that would make the fight take forever. There we go. So yeah, Beast Lancer. And honestly, Massimo has so much HP that recoil damage isn't really that big a deal. So, honestly, I criticized it earlier, but it's actually pretty good. Anyway, though, yeah, enough of Depth Dragoon. Unless I want to mention one thing, I think it's actually in the, attack! Let's see, I'm just trying to scroll through the interview real quick, because Depth Dragoon was actually supposed to be, like, a slightly bigger idea. Hey! Oh, there we go. So, the interviewer asks, there are a lot of hidden bosses that are unique in a sense, for example, Duckbill Mole or Reflexion. Takanaka mentions, those are 2 bosses that appeared in a normal playthrough, including Duckbill Mole, Reflexion, and Depth Dragoon. We would have had the standard 8 bosses that every game in the series has, but ever since the story got a bit shortened, we had no choice but to make them into hidden bosses. They also mention another super boss that we haven't seen just yet, so technically speaking, it's not really safe to read the interview if you care about spoilers. But he does mention that this particular super boss was supposed to be hidden from the very beginning. So now you know that there is a hidden boss that's supposed to be a hidden boss. And that's the fucker that I was still afraid of even at this point in the game. But yeah, I just figured I'd throw that in. That's also the reason that Reflexion at least, or probably anyway, I don't want to make assumptions, but Reflexion did have a Axel change ability, a DNA change ability for Axel, rather. So that might have just been left over from Reflexion being a main boss. Again, I feel like a bargain bin, not remake, remaster would be the worst fate for this game, but I would like to see the story expanded a little bit. Look, I know a remake that I want really couldn't exist, so I'm fine with the game existing in its current state. If one could exist, I wouldn't mind seeing, like, what Reflexion was supposed to actually do in the story, but since that's not going to happen, I will just twiddle my thumbs and be fine with what we are given. Alright, so now that I'm a few minutes past talking about Spider and Red Ips, is there anything else I want to mention about those two? My train of thought got completely derailed by Depth Dragoon, but let's see, yeah, I like his motivations, I did mention that, yeah, nobody really takes advantage of X's naivete like Red Ips does, and I think that makes him really interesting. I wouldn't want him to be a boss like Sigma, where he gets multiple games in a row where he's the villain. One and done is fine. He's a lot stronger for doing that. Lumine I could have seen coming back, but yeah, Red Ips, I'm glad he's the boss of an RPG, and if they ever had made an X-Command Mission 2, I would really hope they didn't make him the villain again. Again, one and done is fine. I feel like he's strong for having the role he does in this game, and just sticking to it. Anything about the fact that Ale might just be Red Ips? Again, I think it's funnier if he's not, but it really could just be any combination. Oh, one thing I didn't mention. Spider never mentions Ale by name until somebody else mentions Ale by name. That might have just been accidental. That could just be an oversight in the writing, but it could also be intentional. I do also like that. I think then that makes, like, Spider was fake from the beginning, but Ale was real, like, one of the more viable options, if you really get yourself into that particular train of thought. But yeah, like, Spider never actually says Ale's name until somebody mentions it. He's just like, oh yeah, he was my friend, that guy you're talking about. And nobody presses him on it, which is great. Again, I love how ambiguous they left it, and that they refuse to ever name any specific, like, canon events. That makes it so much more interesting. Because really, like, no matter what, Red Ips is a bastard. We can all acknowledge that. Dude sucks. He's just a bad dude, but like...
It seems I have lost.
Well, alright then. But like, why is Red Ips bad? Again, I think it comes down to, is it more evil for him to steal Valor, and that there was genuinely a Spider and an Ale in existence? Also, yeah, Depth Dragoon is a transformation as well. There really was a Spider and Ale, and they really did die for X, and then Red Ips just comes in and takes their hard work and uses it to his own ends? Or is it just more messed up that he wholesale made up a guy or two in order to trick X into following what he wanted to do? Yeah, I just find that whole thing very intriguing. I think it works out very well for this game. Again, I really wish there was more to this game that was actually said, but the blank spaces are genuinely pretty cool. And I just kind of wish the rest of the game lived up to those. But yeah, I think my favorite, again, is Ale is real, Spider was real, but like by the time you get to the boss, obviously, real Spider is dead. And this is just Red Ips. But it is entirely possible that maybe Spider existed in the past, but the one that entered the tower was Redips from the start. Any which way, I think it's just interesting. So yeah, that is gonna be the end of this episode of Mega Man X Command Mission. I've discussed, perhaps the most significant part of the plot, the most interesting part of it, and next time, we are going to take on Redips and beat the game. For real this time. Seriously though, Sigma's not here. He's not gonna make a surprise appearance at the end.